Absolutely. Hello. And to discuss this in detail is a man who was right in the thick of it last night and who I think was probably celebrating, and that's Bonjean, a consultant to Senate Republicans. So a good night for you. What next?
Well, look, it was a great night for us, and we stayed up very late on election night, and now it's time to get back to work. Now it's time to put together an agenda that will help move this country forward and to work with this White House on getting things done.
Sounds good. What do you mean exactly?
Well, there's a whole list of things that we can do right now that have bipartisan votes that stacked up in the Senate that could have gotten to the president's desk, but for one thing or another, it didn't. We can get things like repealing the medical device tax done, tax reform accomplished. We can pass regulatory relief for businesses. We can pass transportation and infrastructure spending. There are all kinds of things that can happen, but it needs to start in the Congress, and that's why we're looking forward to taking over.
But given the major issues facing this country, like immigration reform, an estimated 10 million people here illegally, what are you going to do about that?
Yeah, that's a huge problem, and that has to be tackled. President Obama is going to make the first move likely with an executive order, and we're going to have to see exactly what that is and what he's going to do. And he's going to move the first chess piece. The next thing is Republicans will likely react and put forward some type of border security measure, and then figure out what to do with the rest of the folks that are in this country, what President Obama hasn't done. So we just have to look at it. It's a little far advanced to describe.
Border security is one thing, but all the people who are here illegally, many of them are paying taxes, many of them are working extremely hard, desperate to become American citizens, and you need the Latino vote in 2016.
Yes,
so what are you going to do?
That's exactly right. And so that question is an important one that Republicans have to tackle, but we have to first see what President Obama is going to do with executive orders, and then we're going to have to huddle up and figure out what we can do to get through the Congress to the president's desk. Because you're right, in order for us to survive as a Republican Party, we do need the Hispanic vote.
And how about on foreign policy? What are you going to do on, for example, Iran? There's talk of a possible nuclear deal with Iran over its nuclear program. Republicans don't like that deal. Would you try and stop it?
Well, that's a really great question, and Senator Bob Corker will be taking over the Foreign Relations Committee here in the Senate, and I'm sure he's going to have something to say about that. And in addition, there could be a war powers resolution that goes to the Congress authorizing the president to take measures against ISIL. I mean, there are all kinds of things that are likely going to happen sooner rather than later.
Now, all eyes are turning already to the 2016 presidential race. Reading the tea leaves from last night, did you see a candidate out there who could win the White House for you?
Well, let me tell you what, my advice to Congress right now is to concentrate on next year and getting things done and worry about 2016 later. We have a lot of great candidates out there, from governors to senators. Being from Wisconsin, I'm a big fan of Scott Walker, but there are lots of other folks that are available too, and we're going to have to see as the primary process unfolds in late 2015.
Now, although this was a good result for you, it was a midterm election, turnout was lower. You have to win young voters, you have to win women voters, you have to win Hispanic voters. If you're up against Hillary Clinton, say, in 2016, how daunting a prospect would she be?
Well, she's a formidable candidate, but she did campaign across the country for a number of Senate incumbents that lost their elections, so she didn't really have a lot of impact. We actually did a lot better with the female vote, and frankly, the youth vote, according to a Harvard poll, was more on our side this year because they were more upset with the Obama administration. So the key here for Republicans is to put an agenda forward and start getting things done, because voters voted against gridlock. They didn't vote for Republicans necessarily. They voted to say, hey, get something done, guys.
Now, how about the Tea Party and its influence over the Republican Party? Do you think that was evident in the selection of candidates last night or not?
Yeah, I think so. And in a way that has moved, the Tea Party has moved Washington towards controlling more spending. And they have, Republicans have actually had less controversial primaries because more members of Congress have voted along the Tea Party lines. We've had a number of solid candidates who we all believe in the same thing: stronger fiscal responsibility, less government intervention. Those type of things are all the things that the Tea Party agrees with. Will there be problems next year? Absolutely, but we'd rather have those problems in the majority than in the minority.
Now, we're going to hear this afternoon from Mitch McConnell. He's going to be the new Senate Majority Leader. He held onto his seat in Kentucky. President Obama is also going to give a press conference. The American people are watching. They've really sent a message that they're fed up with dysfunction, they're fed up with gridlock. So what is going to actually happen?
Well, I think you're going to hear from both of them today talking about compromise and bipartisanship and, trying to make people feel good. And that's important. I mean, you can't start out with partisan arguments. And then they're going to meet at the White House on Friday to talk about how they're really going to start getting some things done. I think it's going to be really important for Mitch McConnell, incoming leader McConnell, and Speaker Boehner to come out with a united agenda to show what they're going to do this Congress to improve the lives of Americans.
Indeed so. Ron Bonjean, thank you very much indeed for joining us there, a consultant to Senate Republicans. A good night for you. So that is the view here from someone closely associated with the success of the Republicans last night. And we'll be hearing later today from President Obama and from the new Senate Majority Leader to see what this working together is going to mean in practice.